When I think back to the late days of the Super Nintendo, there's one beat 'em up that always stands out. Not because it was the most popular, but because it felt like a game that quietly pushed the genre forward. Final Fight 3. It wasn't the loudest release, and it didn't make the same kind of waves as the original Final Fight, but the moment I first played it, I knew it had something special. Even now, when I load it up again today, there's this instant familiarity, the kind of familiarity that only comes from a game you grew up with. I remember sitting on the edge of the bed with the SNES controller in my hands, that glossy purple start button staring back at me. The room was warm, the TV buzzing faintly, and the moment I hit start, Final Fight 3 dropped me straight into the streets of Metro City like I never left. Now, years later, I've been asking myself the same question I ask about a lot of retro games. Is it still worth playing today? Does Final Fight 3 still hold up in 2025? Every time I go back to it, I'm surprised by just how ambitious it was compared to other beat-em-ups at the time. Right away, you can feel the difference in the controls. Most beat-em-ups from that era were simple: walk right, punch enemies, repeat. But Final Fight 3 added a real sense of control and weight to every move. You've got running attacks, dash moves, directional throws, and, my personal favorite, special techniques that make your character feel completely distinct. Playing as Hagar feels powerful, almost like your hits are shaking the whole screen. Guy feels quick and sharp, with these satisfying strike combos that flow naturally. And then you've got Dean and Lucia, two newcomers who brought a welcome sense of variety. Dean's electrified strikes gave him this cool hybrid grappler vibe, while Lucia was faster and more technical. Back when I was a kid, I didn't think much about character design or move lists. I just knew it felt amazing to slam enemies into the pavement with Hagar's running tackle. But now, with modern eyes, I can appreciate how forward-thinking Final Fight 3 actually was. It gave players more movement options, more strategy, and more incentive to replay levels with different fighters. And speaking of replay value, the game also introduced branching paths, something that felt almost revolutionary for the time. I remember the first time I accidentally took a different route and ended up in a completely new stage. I didn't even know beat-em-ups could do that. Today, branching paths feel normal, but back then, it made the world feel bigger and more alive. Even the story, simple as it is, feels like a step up. Metro City is once again under attack, this time from a gang called the Skull Cross. It's classic beat-em-up storytelling, enough set up to justify punching people through windows, but not enough to slow down the action. In 2025, it's charming in a way modern games sometimes forget. No huge cutscenes, no overly dramatic monologues. You get just enough context and then you're back on the streets. What really makes Final Fight 3 stand out today is the pacing. The levels feel well thought out. The enemy waves arrive in patterns that give you room to breathe, attack, and reposition. Bosses have readable patterns, but still pack enough unpredictability to keep you guessing. There's this really smooth flow the game has, something that becomes more obvious when you compare it to other SNES beat-em-ups from the time. Games like Rival Turf or Brawl Brothers were fun, but they didn't have the tightness or polish that Capcom was known for. And then there's the presentation. The visuals still look great today, some of the best sprite work on the SNES for a beat-em-up. Metro City has so much personality here. From neon-lit alleys, to train stations, to military hideouts, the game takes you on a surprisingly varied tour of environments. I remember being fascinated as a kid by the cityscape scrolling by in the background. It made Metro City feel alive, even though the SNES was working with limited hardware. Today, with all the remastered, high-resolution games out there, I still think Final Fight 3's art holds up beautifully. There's something timeless about hand-drawn sprites. The soundtrack also deserves credit. It's gritty, energetic, and fits the atmosphere perfectly. That opening stage theme is burned into my memory permanently. It has this driving rhythm that instantly puts me in the mood to fight through waves of enemies. Even today, I can hum most of the tracks without the game even playing. But let's talk about the modern perspective. Comparing Final Fight 3 to modern beat-em-ups is interesting. Today, we have games like Streets of Rage 4, Fight and Rage, and River City Girls. Games with deep combat systems, modern visuals, and incredibly polished gameplay. So where does Final Fight 3 fit in? Surprisingly, it holds up better than you might expect. The movement options, combat flow, and character variety make it feel far more modern than most 16-bit beat-em-ups. Sure, it doesn't have juggling combos or parry systems, but it doesn't feel outdated either. It feels like the foundation that many modern games built upon. One thing that really stands out is the difficulty. Final Fight 3 has a fair but firm challenge level. As a kid, I remember struggling with certain bosses and thinking I would never improve. Now, as an adult revisiting it, I can see how smartly the game ramps things up. Enemies start testing your spacing, your ability to manage crowds, and your timing on throws and specials. It's one of those games where progress is tied directly to player skill. Not upgrades, not level grinding, just pure improvement. Co-op mode also holds up surprisingly well. There's something special about beat-em-ups that are designed with 2 players in mind. Even today, sitting down with someone and playing through the game feels just as fun as it did back in the 90s. The enemy patterns make sense with 2 players, and coordinating grabs and attacks gives the combat this extra layer of depth. I remember playing with a friend from school, taking turns scooping up items, accidentally hitting each other in the chaos, yelling whenever someone got grabbed off screen. Those memories are part of what made the game feel so alive for me. Now, is Final Fight 3 perfect? Not quite. The enemy variety can feel repetitive if you marathon the game. Some character animations are a bit stiff compared to modern standards, and the AI partner in single player, if you choose to use it, can feel unpredictable at times. But honestly, these flaws are small bumps in an otherwise well-crafted experience. So, after revisiting it with both nostalgia and a modern eye, the real question remains: is Final Fight 3 on the SNES still worth playing today? For me, the answer is absolutely yes. Not just as a piece of retro history, but as a genuinely fun beat-em-up that still holds its own 30 decades later. Final Fight 3 has charm, personality, tight gameplay, and a surprising amount of depth for an SNES title. It's a game that respects your time. It's fast, exciting, and endlessly replayable. If you're a retro fan, a beat-em-up fan, or just someone curious about what made these games so iconic, Final Fight 3 is absolutely worth going back to. It reminds me of a time when games didn't need sprawling systems. They just needed heart, style, and good design. And Final Fight 3 has all of that and more. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a classic, feel free to like, subscribe, and let me know which retro game you want me to revisit next.